I'm Nick Brooks, a California attorney, and today we're digging into Macron v. Owens now that I finally have all the moving papers on Candace Owens' motion to dismiss. This is about jurisdiction, time limits, and whether she can avoid discovery entirely. French President Emmanuel Macron and First Lady Brigitte Macron sued Candace Owens in Delaware over her Becoming Brigitte series and related posts. They say she pushed wild claims about Brigitte's identity, their marriage, and their integrity, all to drive attention and profit. Procedurally, here's where we are. The Macrons filed a complaint, then an amended complaint with more detail. Owens responded by filing a motion to dismiss the amended complaint, supported by a detailed brief. The Macrons then filed an opposition to that motion, and Owens followed up with a reply brief. That full motion to dismiss package, motion, opposition, and reply, is what we're analyzing today. The amended complaint says Owens told her audience that Brigitte was actually born male, that she's in fact her older brother, Jean Michel Trogneux, using a stolen identity, and that the Macrons committed identity theft, fraud, even incest, all tied to CIA-style MKUltra conspiracies and violence against journalists. The Macrons allege those claims are categorically false. In her motion, Owens asked the Delaware court to dismiss her personally for lack of jurisdiction, strike parts of the amended complaint as improper, declare the claims time-barred under a French 3-month deadline, and kick the case out of Delaware on forum non-conveniens, arguing France, or at least her home base in Tennessee, are more appropriate forums. Owens also wraps this in First Amendment language, casting herself as an independent journalist, giving opinionated political commentary about public figures. The message to the court is this: this is not just about defamation. It's an attempt by foreign leaders to punish American speech. Before Delaware can touch the merits of this case, it has to clear a threshold issue. Does this court even have the power to make Candace Owens show up here at all because she is a named defendant? That's personal jurisdiction, and it comes down to two flavors: general and specific. Let's start with general jurisdiction. That's the at-home rule. You can be sued there for almost anything, and for a person, that's basically their domicile. Owens is domiciled in Tennessee, not Delaware, so the Macrons almost certainly cannot get general jurisdiction over her in Delaware. That knocks out the sue her for anything here box and forces everyone into the second box, specific jurisdiction, which is case by case. So now the question changes. We're no longer asking, is Owens at home in Delaware? Instead, we're asking, did she create enough Delaware-based contacts tied to this case that it's fair to drag her into this particular lawsuit here? That's specific jurisdiction. Delaware's long-arm statute is the tool for that. It lets the court reach non-residents when the claims arise from business they do through Delaware entities or from torts that hit Delaware. The Macrons say that's exactly what happened here. Owens allegedly used two Delaware companies she manages to produce, publish, and monetize this defamatory content, including pushing it out through Delaware organized platforms and to Delaware listeners. In their view, this case arises from those Delaware contacts, so specific jurisdiction over Owens personally is fair game. Owens answers with this: my contacts are Tennessee based. I live in Tennessee. I record there. I own no property in Delaware. And just forming Delaware entities or running a website there is not enough. She's basically saying this: even if my companies are in Delaware, my alleged defamation is personal speech from Nashville, not Delaware-focused conduct. The Macrons push back that Candace Owens LLC and Georgetown Inc. exist to distribute and monetize her content, that she is their manager and primary decision maker, and that the alleged defamation is the core business of those Delaware entities. So, they argue, their claims arise from or relate to her forum-based business choices, satisfying specific jurisdiction under both the long arm and Delaware's manager consent statutes. At this stage of litigation, the judge can accept the Macron's allegations as true and reasonably find specific jurisdiction. Using Delaware entities as the vehicle to publish and monetize allegedly defamatory content is a strong hook for Delaware's consent to jurisdiction framework, even if Owens never set foot in Delaware. Owens' stronger play is timing. Delaware has a borrowing statute that sometimes uses another place's statute of limitations instead of Delaware's. The idea is this: if most of the injury happened somewhere else, you do not get a longer deadline just by filing in Delaware. Owen says the Macrons felt the biggest hit in France, politically and socially, so France's 3-month defamation period should apply and knock out a lot of claims. The Macrons say that rule doesn't either fit this case at all, or if it does, it should look at Tennessee's longer deadline instead, because that's where Owens was when she created and posted this content. In her reply, Owens tries to flip that and say the Macrons are basically admitting Tennessee is the proper forum. That's a stretch. Pointing to Tennessee for which deadline applies does not mean you've agreed Delaware courts cannot hear the case, especially when the speech was created in the United States using Delaware companies she chose. On forum nonconveniens, Owens argues France is the natural forum, French plaintiffs, alleged French harm, French witnesses, and that Delaware has almost nothing to do with her life compared to Tennessee. She's basically telling the judge this dispute belongs either in France or in her backyard, Tennessee, but not in a Delaware courtroom. But the actual acts Owens is being sued over, writing, recording, and uploading the content, happened in the United States through Delaware companies she chose. If the Macrons really refiled in France, Owens would almost certainly argue not just bias, but that venue is wrong because the conduct occurred in the United States. Realistically, she's trying to get out of Delaware and closer to Tennessee, but her Delaware entities make that much harder. Owens also goes after the amended complaint itself, arguing the Macrons smuggled in new, post-filing episodes without getting the court's permission first. Even if the judge agreed with her on that technical point, the usual fix in civil practice is not game over, it's leave to amend or file a proper supplemental complaint under the correct rule. That gives the court a very middle-of-the-road option: trim or repackage some later allegations, require the Macrons to replead them correctly, and still let the core defamation case move forward, instead of using this as a reason to kill the lawsuit outright. If the court denies outright dismissal or even orders a targeted jurisdictional discovery, Owens will likely have to produce operating agreements, internal communications, and revenue information. That could show how deliberately she used her Delaware entities to amplify or monetize these claims, which is exactly the story her motion seems designed to avoid. Here's my prediction. The court is more likely than not to find specific personal jurisdiction over Owens and her entities, and to keep the case in Delaware rather than to send it somewhere else. The real vulnerability is the limitations issue. Some claims may be trimmed as time barred, but a total win for Owens at the motion to dismiss stage is unlikely. If you found this video helpful, please hit like so more people see it. Before you go, tell me in the comments, should the Macrons have brought this fight in Delaware, or should this case be happening in France or Tennessee instead? Where do you think this case belongs, and why? If someone you know follows Candace Owens or works in media, politics, or defamation law, send this video to them so they can see where the legal line really is. And if you want more breakdowns like this from a California attorney, subscribe and turn on notifications so that you don't miss the next episode. Thank you very much.